Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly exploration of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters through the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And if you listened to last week's episode, you will know that this week, following on from Teen Titans issue 44, in fact, is it following on? Yeah, kind of. We are jumping back to the Golden Age, specifically to the 20th of December 1946, as we read a story from All American Comics number 82 and meet the Golden Age Dr. Light.
Yay!
And we should probably get Peter to tell us about the cover.
Yes, All American Comics, number 82, February, a Superman DC publication. 10 cents, apparently. Exciting. In the top left corner, there's a little inset panel showing Hop Harrigan, who's one of these aviator aces that they had in the Golden Age.
When are we going to get Hop Harrigan on the podcast? We should try and find a story where he meets someone with a name that we could do.
You know, I'm working on it.
Good.
The main image on the cover, we have Doiby Dickles, Green Lantern's sidekick, and he is tied up in a bedroom. It looks like he's tied to a radiator. There is a dresser in front of him. It looks like it's been ransacked. And there's one solitary candle lit above him.
It looks to me like the candle's actually been stuck into his hat.
It does, actually. It's a bit unfortunate, really. Maybe it's a birthday cake he's got in his Doiby. Anyway. And reflected in the mirror on the dresser, we can see coming to Doiby's aid is Green Lantern himself, Alan Scott. He's bursting in and he's punching a guy in a purple and black checked suit. This guy looks like he's a hoodlum, I'll be perfectly honest. And tucked into the corner of the mirror is a black and white photograph of Green Lantern. What could this possibly mean? And right beside Doiby, beside this radiator, is a box labelled TNT. Yes, the Golden Age hero TNT is making a cameo on this cover.
Oh, God. I nearly swore, listeners.
Yeah, so Doiby is in quite the predicament.
It's quite an interesting scene because we can see, a few items of clothing casually strewn around. There's some socks, a couple of attractive ties. There's a hairbrush on the dresser, which made me nostalgic for the olden days. I wonder whose room it is, because the fact that there's a photograph of Alan slid into the mirror, I would hope it isn't Doiby's bedroom that we're seeing, because it'd be quite weird if he had a photograph of Alan sort of pinned up, as it were.
You never know. Perhaps it's a master of disguise. Unfortunately, we won't know because we're not covering this story.
Now, listeners, you have to go and find your own copy of All American Comics 82 and read it. At this point, I'll give a quick shout out and a thank you to Matthew Purchase for his assistance in prepping a copy of the cover for the Instagram this week, etc. And Peter made mention of TNT there, listeners. And as the crow flies, we're not that far away from him debuting on the podcast. Stay tuned.
Absolutely.
And jumping into the story, we have a large 2/3 of the page splash panel with the Dr. Mid-Nite logo at the top and an image showing a couple of spotlights shining on a tall, lean, bald man with vicious eyebrows, wearing a red unitard cloaked in a purple cape, who's surrounded by a flash of green energy or green light as Dr. Mid-Nite leaps in from stage left behind him. I have to say, if anyone writes in and suggests that I can cosplay the Golden Age Dr. Light, I will tell them to sod off. I was immediately reminded of short-term Avengers member Dr. Drood.
Oh, yes.
When I looked at this chap.
I can see that.
That's quite interesting. And as it's an opening splash panel, there's a lot of captioning.
The underworld usually performs its assorted evil under the cover of darkness. Yet this criminal preferred to work in the light. Was he a madman or a genius? The answer came at the end of a desperate duel of wits and fists between Dr. Mid-Nite and Dr. Light.
And then another caption sets the scene for the story.
It is several hours past midnight, and a mysterious figure silently steals through the slumbering city.
Yes, now I have to say, initially, this does not look like a city to me. This looks like the outskirts of a small town. Take a drink, listeners, for there's a crescent half moon, but looks things in the sky above this alleged city. We can see what looks like a town hall or a church and probably a shop and a few other buildings. It does look as if it's been snowing to my eyes, because it looks like footprints, and we can see this figure who we've just seen in the splash panel with his big long purple cape and his big long red legs walking through the city, and he's looking around and he's saying,
"My supreme moment is at hand. Light is about to serve its master.
Suddenly, the city is bathed in a brilliant blaze of light, as though from a midnight sun.
Yes, we see a gentleman in fantastic blue and white striped pyjamas sitting up in his bed, and we can see on the alarm clock beside his bed that it's 3 a.m, like that Busted song. This chap sits up, stretches and says,
Sunrise. Time to get up.
and as he stands up, gets out of bed, looks around, looks out the window, and then he looks back at his alarm clock and says,
Huh? 3 o'clock in the morning? It won't be dawn for hours. But where's that sunlight coming from? Our puzzled community is echoing the same question.
Yes, we see a woman in a fetching red and white striped nightdress and a gentleman beside her wearing pyjamas that kind of have an orange and black zigzag pattern on them, and they're also looking out the window and being astonished at how bright it is at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the lady says,
I'm frightened, John. What is it? Where is it coming from?
and John, for it is he, replies, I don't know. We then cut to a police officer using a telephone handset that's been built into the side of a telegraph pole. He looks very concerned as he says, That's right, Chief. It's as if the sun's gone haywire. Only it ain't come out yet. No, I can't see where the light's coming from, but I'll keep looking.
The brilliant light wakes even Dr. McNider.
Yes, and we see our pal Chuck McNider looking out of the window, and he's saying, Odd. It's full daylight, yet daylight isn't due for 3 hours or more. Something is definitely wrong. Something that may call for the services of Dr. Mid-Nite.
And so, seconds later, Dr. McNider has transformed himself to the wonder of the witching hour.
Wow, I've never heard him called that before. That's fantastic. Gosh. And we see that Chuck has gone down to his laboratory in his Dr. Midnight gear, and he's saying, if I can use this gadget to measure the flow and the direction of the particles of light, maybe I can gauge its direction. And we see that he's got another device over at the window with some light from outside, refracting through it, however you like. He's making notes as he says, this combination spectroscope and thermocouple will measure the heat and velocity of the photons, and using that data I can make a pretty good guess where the light is coming from. I already know it's man-made, but who possesses enough knowledge to create such a light?
At that moment, some distance away, perplexed factory watchmen gape at the baffling phenomenon.
Yes, and we see the two gentlemen in their uniforms and peak caps looking up at the sky, and the first one is saying,
Can't imagine what it is.
maybe it's a shooting star that exploded. And what they don't see, but we do see, is that sneaking into an open doorway is the chap we saw on the splash panel and kicking about. And it now looks as though instead of wearing a red unitard like he had in the splash image, he's wearing an orange suit, but he still has a purple cape, and he still has the same high, baldy chrome dome. Yes, it is Dr. Light, and he's thinking,
Idiots. They wouldn't understand the long years I laboured to perfect my inventions.
and he's gone inside in the next panel, and we can see him trying to open a very large safe. He continues to speak.
Light has always fascinated me. A form of electromagnetic radiation. Light is pure energy. Energy that can be turned to good effect, if you know how.
And in the next panel, he's got out a little device. Looks a little bit like a fancy torch. It's shining a very bright red beam at the safe as he continues to monologue with his back to us. I will comment further on such things when we get down to the story. As he keeps going, he's saying,
Anything that absorbs light will be heated, and this special flashlight gives off a high degree of supercharged photons that create extremely high temperatures. So hot indeed that it will eat right through a steel safe and permit me to obtain whatever is inside.
and indeed a large hole has appeared in the front of the safe, and Dr. Light is reaching in. The next panel, we see the two guards are still staring up at the sky, oblivious to what's going on, and he's running out of the door carrying 2 flipping great bags full of cash. He's still monologuing.
My special daylight effect served to get those numbskulls out of the factory so I could get in unseen. Now to shut it off and leave the city in the dark concerning Dr. Light.
But one man in the city is already on the trail of the mysterious light.
Yes, we see Dr. Mid-Nite, or as we're now going to call him, the wonder of the witching hour, sprinting along, again, like Dr. Light in the first few panels of this page, with his back to us, and Dr. Mid-Nite is saying, according to my calculations, the light is coming from somewhere in the park. I was right, because he has come across Dr. Light, who is operating a large lever attached to machinery, which seems to have a power cable coming from it. As Dr. Mid-Nite rushes towards him, he says, now to find out what sort of an explanation that fellow has for conducting experiments in the park at this time of night. Dr. Light whirls towards Dr. Mid-Nite, firing the little torch device that he had a moment ago when he was going for the safe. And as he does so, he says,
"Fool! You won't stop Dr. Light! Not at this stage of the game."
Chuck ducks out of the way, saying, "Phew! I can feel the searing heat of that thing from here." He manages to strike Dr. Light, knocking the torch gun thing out of his hand, saying, "My fist isn't light, it's plenty heavy and hard." And Dr. Light goes down with an
Ugh. To and fro reel the fighters, battling in man-made daylight at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Gosh, that's when Peter normally gets up, listeners, to start editing, isn't it, Peter?
It genuinely is.
I hope you'll appreciate it, folks. Yes, we see Dr. Mid-Nite and Dr. Light trading blows, throwing fists, as Chuck says, "I don't know what you're up to, but I warrant it's no good."
You'll never live to find out.
As they struggle, we can see the torch gun is lying on the ground. We see Dr. Mid-Nite striking Dr. Light with an uppercut. Dr. Light falls back, saying, "Ugh." As Chuck says, a follow-up blow in the same spot should be the clincher, but then we see that he's trodden on the torch gun and lost his balance. He falls over in the next panel saying, "Oh, turned an ankle on that flashlight."
Now I have him,
exclaims Dr. Light, and we see him activating the lever on his big weird device.
Helpless to continue the combat, the caped crusader quickly smashes one of his blackout bombs, and a cloud of darkness rushes up to surround him.
This is a great panel, listeners. This will definitely make it into the socials, because it looks like Dr. Mid-Nite is quantum leaping, quite frankly. Yes, the blackout bomb spreads, the cloud is rushing around, and Dr. Light looks very unhappy. He picks up his machinery and runs off, saying,
"That confounded blackness is spreading. If I'm caught in it, I'll be powerless to attack."
Moments later, a hobbling Dr. Mid-Nite emerges from the cloud of darkness.
And as the air starts to clear, Dr. Mid-Nite says, "He got away, but only because my ankle twisted. Next time, there'll be a different ending."
3 nights later,
and we see Dr. Light in his laboratory, lots of test tubes and bubbling flasks, and he probably looks as MF Enterprises as he's going to look in these two panels. He's examining his equipment, and he's speechifying again, as he says,
"When I use this multiple light generator, its dazzling brilliance will induce temporary blindness to those within its range. Excepting myself, especially prepared glasses will still enable me to see. My colleagues at the university scoffed at my theories. They called me mad, had me thrown off the staff, but they did me a favour. Now, instead of using my knowledge of light for the benefit of all, I'll employ it for my own ends."
And we see in the next panel that he's outside now, cutting about, looking very shady in the deep dark night, as he's approaching the doorway to a building, and he's saying,
"Let them grope around in the dark with their decadent science. I'll have the last laugh yet."
meanwhile,
we cut to Dr. McNider, who's kneeling down and wrapping a bandage around his right ankle, saying, "I'll have to skip tonight's search for that Dr. Light while I give the lecture at Sheldon Hall. There, with that binding, my ankle's as good as ever. Now for my hat and coat." And as Chuck takes his jacket from the cupboard, we get a caption that reminds us,
unknown to others, blind Dr. McNider wears infrared glasses that give him perfect vision.
Yes, I wonder if that's going to be significant. And I noticed there's a brush on Chuck's dressing table there, and that momentarily confused me because I thought we'd slipped into the cover story. But anyway, another slow dissolve.
Some hours later, in the basement vaults of the Corner Bank and Trust Company,
yes, we see a few guards sitting around in a deposit box room, not paying attention because Dr. Light has managed to sneak in behind them, bearing his two-globed light thrower, and we can see that he's put on some protective goggles by the looks of it, between panels. That's quite interesting. And Dr. Light rushes forward, thinking,
"The fiery incandescence of this two-globed light thrower will temporarily blind them. Here goes."
And he switches it on, and the whole room is immediately lit up in bright golden light. The guards are all startled and yell, "Ah!" as Dr. Light thinks,
No windows are in the room to reveal this light on the outside, and while the guards stumble around blinded, I shall make my haul and run.
on his way to the lecture, Dr. McNider makes an unscheduled stop.
Yes, we see the car that Dr. McNider was in pulling up. Myra's there to help him out of the car, as she says,
"What's the matter, Doctor? We're not there yet."
"Yes, Myra, I know, but I just remembered. I have to make an important phone call. Pardon me."
"Oh, Doctor, why didn't you think of it sooner?"
And we see that Chuck's standing outside a building, which is a big sign on the side that indeed says the Corner Bank and Trust Company, as a caption reads.
Through his special infrared glasses, Dr. McNider has spotted a darting beam of light.
And we see there is indeed a little bit of radiance coming up from a grill on the pavement, which obviously Chuck has clocked. And he moves off from Myra. A caption reads,
In the phone booth, unseen, Dr. McNider again becomes Dr. Mid-Nite.
Yep, the wonder of the witching hour is back. You see him getting changed as he's saying, I had to get rid of Myra. Just on the off chance that the curious light coming from the vaults of that bank means Dr. Light has again gone into action. With luck, I can investigate that light and get back to the hall in time for my lecture. And he runs off from the phone booth, and we don't see him, but he gets into the bank somehow, and we see him rushing up towards Dr. Light, who's emptying a vault of bags of cash. Dr. Light looks around, surprised to see him. He says,
You! Again! How did you find out?
I guess you didn't know that the hot air vents in these buildings lead into the cellar and carried your light out into the street via the coal chutes.
I came here for this money, but I can spare you some.
And he throws a bag of cash at Chuck's head. Ugh! Exclaims Dr. Mid-Nite. But then Dr. Mid-Nite flips himself forward in a somersault and kicks Dr. Light in the chest, saying, Thanks, here's your receipt,
Ooh.
exclaims Dr. Light. He then grabs his two-globed light grower. Rushing towards Chuck, he says,
You'll be helpless when I turn this blinding light on you.
It's the speed of my hand against yours, says Dr. Mid-Nite, and we see him reaching for his belt, and he throws another blackout bomb capsule at Dr. Light.
As the blackout bomb bursts against Dr. Light's chest, a pall of darkness blankets his light thrower.
All we can see of Dr. Light now is his hand emerging from the cloud, but we hear his voice as he says,
Got to get out of this infernal blackness. I can't see.
But I can. And I'm taking advantage of it. And we see Dr. Mid-Nite punching into the cloud, just miming that for the benefit of YouTube viewers. And we see some stars flying, because he's obviously collided. We see the cloud dissipating as Dr. Mid-Nite holds on to the unconscious form of Dr. Light, saying, Why, Doctor, you're out like a light. And in the next panel, we see Dr. Mid-Nite again with his back to us, and Dr. Light over his shoulder, walking up to police headquarters, saying, Just another unfortunate case of a misguided genius gone wrong. I trust his sentence won't be light.
Some months later, in the state penitentiary...
Bunk beds in the cell. Dr. Light is in the bottom bunk, and in the top bunk is a rather shady-looking fellow who's reading by a nightlight. How selfish. Dr. Light, pushing at his pillows, trying to sleep, calls up to his cellmate saying,
Hey, are you going to read all night?
Smatter, Doc, can't you stand the light?
Oh, shut up.
Replies a very angry-looking Dr. Light, and we close in a caption that reads,
More thrilling adventures in the dark with Dr. Mid-Nite in every issue of All American Comics.
Gosh, that was a loaded caption, wasn't it? Well, that was fun. I was a little disappointed as we got into the story that he wasn't wearing the slinky red Dr. Druid unitard. He just looked like another guy in a regular suit with a cape.
Pretty much.
So I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's a bit ordinary and a bit dull. But no, that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
It's very much like an arch foe for Dr. Mid-Nite. It's the perfect balance, darkness and light, of course.
Absolutely.
So it's a great addition to the Dr. Mid-Nite's canon, as it were.
Yes. Obviously, we've done a couple of episodes recently where we've featured the Dr. Light that we all know, so it's nice to do some more digging and find this chap. I wasn't aware of him at all until you mentioned him.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked a little bit more detail on it, but I did like the scenes at the start as the city is sort of illuminated in the middle of the night. That was very effective. That was very cinematic almost. I can imagine that maybe being filmed and there being this big illuminance, but street lamps would still be on, for example.
Yeah,
you know, that sort of thing. I can imagine it being quite a good miming for the benefit of our YouTube viewers. It's a great visual hook to sort of hang a story on, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm confused, though, as to how Chuck McNider saw the lights enough to wake him up, because obviously, unless he went to sleep with his infrared glasses on, he wouldn't have seen that, to be awoken by it.
That's a fair point.
Caption actually says, the brilliant light wakes even Dr. McNider. To which I ask, how?
Yeah, maybe, well, I suppose the caption tells us it's just so bright that it couldn't do anything else, maybe. I don't know. It's a fair point. I mean, does he go to sleep with these goggles on? I can't really think that he would do that, really, can you?
You never know. You never know. He's certainly wearing his glasses when he's looking out the window.
Nice to see Myra pop up briefly.
True.
Just, in her capacity.
I like the fact he's got all these gadgets and devices, and his setup of his laboratory looked fascinating because you had test tubes, you had like orbs and stuff like that. It was very cool.
Dr. Light's equipment got you right.
And it's a nice array of weapons he's got. Obviously, he's got this light generator, which somehow he manages to plug in the middle of the park, which is cool. And of course, his heat gun flashlight, which is amazing.
I was sort of a little unimpressed that all he was doing then was just using it to rob banks and factory safes. You know, he's quite high concept in name and having all this equipment, and you just sort of think, right, you're just robbing. Maybe I don't know, maybe he has greater plans and he just needs to finance them first of all. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on him.
May well be. The only thing we really get for an origin for him is that sentence where he basically says he's kind of like bullied at college kind of thing and decided to turn his back on the people that kicked him out.
Yes.
And what better revenge, really, than to just look out for himself.
Yeah, and of course prove them wrong, I suppose.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice to get that little bit of motivation. The thing that sort of struck me, and I kind of mentioned this a couple of times while we were reading it, is how lazy some of the art is in a couple of panels.
Yeah.
Like, page 3, they're like, Dr. Mid-Night's in it, but only see him running away from the camera, as it were, and in 3 panels, Dr. Light has his back to us, and and then we see Dr. Mid-Night again with his back to us in the next page, and you sort of think, you know, could the artist not be bothered drawing his mask or the front of his uniform? Remember what we said the other week about how good some of the artwork was from DC's competitors in comparison?
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is one of those ones that kind of holds up as it. I mean, it's good. It's a good fun story. It all wraps along, and narratively it's very clear and all, but it's just a little, you think, maybe a shot of Dr. Mid-Night from the front spotting Dr. Light would have been good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if this had been drawn by like Reed Crandall or Will Eisner or Jack Kirby even, you know, at the time, then it would have been a lot more dynamic. But certainly it tells the story. I quite like there's kind of like spotlight panels that they seem to have where the action's like in a circle, literally, Yeah,
there's a few of them. And as I sort of said, the panel where Chuck sets off the blackout bomb is tremendous.
Yeah.
The blue radiating around his silhouette is very, very effective.
Yeah, it's very cool.
You know, it's all quite economical, and it's done very well, and I like the idea that even though he's blind, he obviously must have some real sensitivity to light, to pick up the stuff is reflecting up out of the underground vault of the bank. That's quite interesting.
Absolutely, yeah.
I hope there's no CCTV to catch the guards all sitting looking at their books and not paying attention as he walks in behind them, though.
I love the moment where Chuck gets changed into Dr. Mid-Night in a phone booth!
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
Classic. The absolute classic. Yes.
Unseen, Dr. McNider again becomes Dr. Mid-Night.
It's like you're in a glass phone booth. You're risking it a bit for the old unseen part.
Yeah, but it's one of these things. It's such a cliched perception of the not we that superheroes get changed into their uniforms and phone booths all the time. And this has maybe happened, 3 times or something whilst we've done the show.
Yes. You can barely take your jacket off in a phone booth. They're not hugely big.
This is true. This is true.
It's quite a skill. They must teach that at superhero school.
Probably. I was quite impressed with the dialogue in this.
Yeah.
Quite witty in places. Dr. Midnight's quite fearless and there's some good jokes. And the final scene of Dr. Light in prison is absolutely hilarious. That's just terrific.
I mean, the final image of him is basically you can just see his head popping out the sheets. He's just so frustrated. Yes. It's great fun.
Touch of the Victor Meldrews to his face in the last panel. You can tell he's just furious.
And of course, he's got his tiny special glasses on for that final battle where he's got his big light orb device. But they're kind of tiny. They're almost like 60s shades.
Yeah, the protective goggles are quite interesting because you sort of think, shouldn't he have worn them earlier?
Yeah.
Shouldn't he have worn them at all times? Shouldn't he have worn some kind of protective thing when he was using that device to burn a hole in the safe? You know, he's not even wearing gloves.
As interesting as it is to have light versus dark, it would be more interesting as well if they'd had Dr. Light against Starman, given the tech. When we write our DC comic,
When we write our DC comic, yes. Dr. Mid-Night and Starman will team up and fight Dr. Light, yes.
Dr. Light in the Mist, there you go.
Yep. And Dr. Light will go for Starman and the Mist will go for Dr. Mid-Night, yada, yada, yada. It writes itself, listeners. Yes. It writes itself.
That's it. Now, it may interest you to know that last summer we were contacted by listener Hal Schroeter, who asked, Peter and David, I haven't had a chance to listen to all your shows yet, so I don't know if this has been brought up before. Are you guys aware there was a Golden Age villain called Dr. Light? He appeared in All-American Comics 82 for the first time. He was a foe of Dr. Mid-Night in 3 appearances. And I responded back to him saying, Hi Hal, thanks for your email. We haven't covered that version of Dr. Light yet, however we do have a plan to. And indeed, Hal, your long wait is paid off because we are doing it right now. And Hal actually pointed me in the direction of a website called comicarchives.org, which has got a Who's Who style profile of a lot of Golden Age characters, which is very, very cool. And as well as some lovely artwork that's been done. There's a fantastic pin-up of the Golden Age Dr. Light, drawn by Greg Fox, is how it's signed off. There's also a really cool commission that's been done by Bob Layton, of all people.
Wow.
That basically takes the cover for the Silver Age Dr. Light from his first appearance in Justice League of America 12 and replaces it with the Golden Age Dr. Light, except he's up against the Justice Society.
Oh, right. Well, we'll have to sneakily right-click that and post it in the socials this week then, won't we, listeners?
Yes, so watch our socials for that. So the Golden Age Dr. Light's made 2 subsequent appearances in All-American Comics. First of all, in issue 89, in a story called Out of This World.
Yeah, and basically in this one, Dr. Mid-Nite goes into a phone booth and ends up thinking he's gone back in time to Roman times, which is very, very interesting. But then it just turns out Dr. Light has sort of come up with a scam in the basement of a big department store. When we were talking about this in the prep, you compared it to an episode of The Avengers, and I think that was absolutely spot on.
Yeah, there was one, I'm sure it's Peter Bowles is the bad guy in it, I think, where he'd set up this thing in a country house where you thought you went back in time and you encountered a swordsman and stuff, yeah. It's very similar to that, yeah.
I know the one you mean, but I can't remember the episode title. I'm
No.
sure Kenny will shout at us when he listens to this story.
When we do our Avengers podcast, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite good fun, that, the second one, and I remember when I sort of read it after, when we were doing our prep, and I sort of thought, all right, well, that's quite disappointing he hasn't actually gone back in time, but I was very impressed at the scope and scale of what Dr. Light was able to achieve.
Yeah.
Although
there's not really any light-based technology in it. It could really have been any criminal mastermind.
Yes, no real use of his light powers at all. And did he escape from prison, or was he released on parole after 7 issues worth of stories? Who can say?
But that's his second appearance. His final appearance was in All-American Comics issue 91, a story called The Crime Flowers. Now, this reminded me a bit of the Mist story that had the talking flowers. Remember that? From Brave and Bold? The Starman and Black Canary? Yeah.
Oh, aye, of course.
I don't know what it is with villains and using flowers in their in their escapades. But yeah, again, not a lot of light-based action in this one. He seems to be using flowers as a way to kind of hypnotise people.
Yeah.
And put in hypnotic suggestions, which is a bit bizarre.
Yeah.
There is some light-based weaponry because he's got sort of a rainbow gun in this, but apart from that, it's a bit strange. However, you were quite amused by the second final panel.
Yes, because at a couple of points in the story they make reference to a black orchid. The name of the one with the cricket from Peter Davison's first series of Doctor Who.
Yes.
So that's nice. That was fun.
And of course, this could be the Golden Age Black Orchid.
Oh, goodness me. Well, technically, you're not wrong, Peter.
Yeah, well.
It's a Golden Age story featuring a black orchid.
Yes.
But it's not a kind of hot lady in a purple leotard. It's just a flower. The Golden Age black orchid was an actual orchid.
But there is another Golden Age Black Orchid, which we may cover at some point in the future.
Possibly. Maybe.
Yes, we'll see. We'll see. If you want us to cover the adventures of that Golden Age Black Orchid, why don't you write to us and let us know? You can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on social media because we're putting up some lovely bonus material for this and, of course, every episode on Facebook, Instagram and Blue Sky. We're at the Earth 2 Podcast, and on Twitter we're at podcast_Earth2, and it is the number 2 for all of our socials.
Yes, we might end up doing the Golden Age Black Orchid in the same episode that we covered the big Marvel villain Terminus when we do an episode on characters named after Peter Davison Doctor Who stories. Yes, as I always say at this point, listeners, if you're enjoying what we're doing, please consider going to wherever it is you receive your podcast and giving us a positive review, or indeed making your way to our link tree in our coffee page and buying Peter the price of a beverage as he edits all my early morning stumbles and trips and mumbles and complaints as we record before midday. Can you believe, listeners? It's astonishing.
On that bombshell, I've been Peter.
And I've been David. We'll see you again soon on
The Earth 2 Podcast.
Transmatter cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
More thrilling adventures in the dark with Dr. Mid-Nite in every...
Wow.
All right, start again. More thrilling adventures in the dark... Oh, we don't take us for this one.
Yes, yes.